One of the benefits at TSS is that we've amassed a very good team of about 65 consultants that have a spectrum of expertise, from our warfighters to our former senior Pentagon officials to NASA senior scientists. With the funding cycles being so condensed, there's really no time to waste. So this is where we come in and we work with those funding cycles to allow industry to be front and center, ready to support new mission requirements. We've been able to leverage programs of record and the lessons learned, using that as a way to springboard into a proposed next generation HPSC program. Fingers crossed that we keep moving forward, and most importantly, that we continue making a difference. And if we can do that, then I'm extremely excited.
All right, let's flip the script. Welcome to Micro Journeys.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, and thanks for coming all the way out here to Las Vegas. This is exciting.
It's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to get into like how you started. Like, you have a lot to tell us, but how did your journey start in like engineering and electronics?
Interesting kind of pathway here. My dad was a engineer, and it was something that he really kind of preached to us, that if you wanted a stable job and you wanted a good career, engineering was a good pathway. And I was really into math and science. So I said, well, let me give it a shot. When I went to Cal Poly, I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go. And it was by chance that I met Dr. Richard Savage, who was one of my professors at the time, ultimately became my thesis advisor, and showed me a passion for microelectronics that I didn't really, A, know much about the topic, and B, knew how much influence that technology had on a variety of different things. So I give a lot of credit to Dr. Savage for really showing me that there is a world that is exciting in the electronics area, and it's enabling for so many other things like AI, like telecommunications, all these different technology sectors that are really focused on worldwide are enabled by microelectronics. And he gave me the opportunity to look into this. It didn't hurt that the lab that he oversaw allowed us to get all gowned up in bunny suits, which are suits that you would put on to minimize particulates and the such in a lab environment. So you really got to, quote unquote, dress the part. So that was really exciting. So that was where my entry into this space really took off.
So you'd credit your dad and then your professors, pretty much.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then where did you go after? I know you worked at Raytheon and DMEA. How was that? And like, how did that really like intrigue your interest in microelectronics?
Yeah, so as part of the research that I did for my master's thesis, Raytheon funded it. So just for a little background, it was looking at the solar improvements by placing quantum dots on the surface level of photovoltaics or solar cells, right? So what ends up happening is with these core shell quantum dots, light is shined on them. They emit photons, and it increases the overall set of photons that would impact a solar cell. So now you have the visible light that's hitting, you have the solar cells that are getting the light emitted from the quantum dots, and now you have an increase in efficiency. So that work, like I said, funded by Raytheon, was a little bit of a horse trade. So for them funding my thesis, I gave them a year. So I traveled down to Raytheon Missile Systems out in Tucson and worked on mostly a set of classified work for a variety of their different missile systems. And it was interesting because as my first job, they really poured on the PR. When I show up for my orientation, it's blaring patriotic music with missiles flying all over the place in these on these screens. And after about maybe 5 or 10 minutes of this, a general comes out and he just says, "Wasn't that bleep exciting?" And he says, "This is what you're going to be working on. This is exactly the stuff that we do here at Raytheon." So that gave me two pieces. One, it gave me exposure to how microelectronics, electronics in general, helps to power all of these different kind of, systems, in this case, missile systems. But it also gave me ability to look into what it would be like in the defense space. Now, Raytheon is a large organization. It was very challenging to stick out. And even if you were smart, there were 100 smart people as well. If you were connected, there was 100 people that were connected. So I made the decision after about a year that I wanted to go look at other options. So in Sacramento, there's the Defense Microelectronics Activity, or DMEA. Once again, my dad was working there at the time and said, look, they're looking for electrical engineers. Would you be interested in coming to DMEA? I said, absolutely. I get to be home. I already know the area. It seems like it's a small outfit that gives me the opportunity to really dictate where I want my career to go. So I made the transition to DMEA, and it was exactly as I described. Had a very small business feel. So you were, all intents and purposes, in charge of what career path you wanted. If you wanted to go out and network, you could go do that. If you wanted to be in the lab, you could go do that. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to go out and meet as many people in this space as possible. I felt that my personality in concert with my engineering skills was a better combination than just being purely in the lab. So I went out and I networked with as many people as possible. And ultimately, over, I'd say about a 10-year period, went from junior engineer to chief strategist at the organization. I was the first and only chief strategy officer.
Wow.
At DMEA. So the other beauty behind this is that with that network that was amassed, it still gave me the ability to go back into the lab and do actual engineering work. So there was a number of instances where there was projects, like for example, that DARPA, that allowed me to be an engineer for a portion of my time. Well, the other portion of my time was going out and networking and really helping to share the vision of what DMEA was doing on behalf of the entire Defense Department.
And what would you say that vision is? Because you have the scope of being the engineer and networking, knowing the fighter like jets and just knowing everything on both sides. Because I know you mentioned there's not a lot of connection between the war fighter and the engineer. I feel like you helped cross that middle ground.
Yeah, it's an interesting piece because there's so many different systems that the Defense Department has. You have your aircraft, you have your submarines, you have your tanks. There's just a spectrum of different things that all have unique requirements, right? Bridging the gap from the integrator and the operator, or the warfighter and the engineer, is a challenge that is unique to the Defense Department. In the automotive space, it's very common for the engineers to work hand in hand with the consumers, understanding what works, what doesn't, directly with the OEMs that are making the different systems and the such. On the defense side, the government doesn't buy electronics. So how do you create strategies for an organization that has requirements that doesn't actually buy the electronics, they just buy systems? So my big vision was, how do we as an organization buy down that risk, work more directly with the operators that are out there and help integrate these electronics in there? And DMEA was able to break down a lot of those barriers. As being the centralized organization for microelectronics, it gave us not only the ability to have those sets of discussions, but also the ability to influence change with a set of laboratory capabilities. It was extremely unique. We weren't just sitting behind a desk writing a bunch of, policies and the such. We had actual engineering capabilities. So it wasn't uncommon where we would get a warfighter that would come in and say, we have a extremely unique capability that we need in the field. And the example I used to use was, people watch, spy movies and the such, and, sometimes the spy, and then I'm using this for exaggeration purposes to emphasize my point, but they'll take off their shoe, they'll make a phone call, they'll put it back on, and that's very unique for that spy's, kind of thing. But that's not outside the realm of reality of what the warfighters have. Whether you're in the Middle East, whether you're in Central America, whether you're in Southeast Asia, all of these different sets of parameters coupled with the mission requirements are so unique that DMEA is able to go in there and provide a one-off solution that a large company would probably never entertain because there's so few quantities needed for that particular mission.
That's very interesting and insightful, because I feel like a lot of people don't notice the gap between the warfighter and just the microelectronics. Is this how Trusted Strategic Solutions came about, or how did you pivot from DMEA to your current company at the moment?
Yeah, great question. So in the government, we had gotten to what I would say a critical point in the overall timeline for microelectronics. The CHIPS initiative is something that really highlighted this technology worldwide. And so as
you had a say in CHIPS, right? I know you're a big advocate for the CHIPS Act.
Yeah, there was a number of different studies that ultimately helped to influence the foundation of that. And I was fortunate to be a part of those things. Everything from briefing senior people at the Pentagon all the way up to the Secretary of Defense to people in Congress. It was it did take a village, so I don't want to say that there was one person that carried the flag, but at the same point, there was some critical moments within my time at DMEA that helped to influence that being such a monumental opportunity from a government perspective. So when I saw this come around, I asked myself the question, could I make more of a difference on the outside versus being on the inside? And just being fortunate early career to have amassed a pretty large network of people, I made the decision that, yeah, I think I can make a bigger difference here on the outside. So at Trusted Strategic Solutions, or TSS, one of the major areas that we focus on is providing solutions that actually align with warfighter requirements. And warfighter can be framed as, someone that is, flying an F-15, to the people that are looking at modernizing our nuclear triad. There is a set of requirements on the operator side that we have been fortunate enough at TSS to help to influence. I mean, even today, we're working on revolutionizing the high energy, heavy ion, single event effect radiation test infrastructure. Total mouthful.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yes.
The average person.
So whenever you're looking at radiation bombardment, whether it be from a terrestrial application or a space application, there's a variety of different types of radiation that you would have to evaluate. And those typically come in protons, neutrons, ions, and electrons. For this particular instance, the evaluation is looking at what facilities here in the United States have the ability to take high energy ions and create a environment similar to what you would see in either any kind of radiation exposed environment. And within these testing methodologies, these high energy heavy ion particulates are able to impact electronics and bore their way down to a point where they can actually impact or create single event upsets within the electronics. So why is this critical to the nation? The reason that this is critical is that electronics have advanced so much since the original set of electronics, where they were really planar devices, not really stacked too much in the Z direction or vertically, right? But now electronics are they ran out of real estate in condensing down electronic components. So you can only squeeze these transistors so much before you run out of real estate, and the only thing that you can do is build upwards. So as you're building upwards, now you have these stacked devices. So if you don't have the high energy heavy ions to go penetrate this, they're going to get stuck somewhere in that vertical stack and not really impact the transistors. So in order to keep up with modern operator requirements, these radiation test facilities are critical for the nation to continue to stay ahead of all of our adversaries as we do these types of tests for different types of environments.
So you say they stack. So as they penetrate, what chip are you using it for? Are they for fighter jets? Are they just overall application? Why do we need this testing? I understand you explained it on the technical level, but big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. So when a weapon system is putting all of its electronic components in there, it will have a high mix of technologies. And what I mean by that is it will use simple, CAN transistors to highly integrated circuits, or ASICs, which are application-specific integrated circuits. So for some of those more advanced electronics that are needed in this whole kind of cornucopia of electronics that are being aggregated in here, those are the types of chips that are there. So it's not for all components, right? Some components don't have the same set of requirements, but those that are more on the advanced electronic side is where these things would be needed.
Gotcha. I kind of want to pivot back. I feel like we brushed on TSS very fast.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, the takeaway from TSS is at the moment? Like, what is the end goal, or not end goal, but like goal at the moment? You mentioned single event facilities, but like, what else are you guys doing? Like, what is the goal of this company?
Yeah, so I'd say that we have multiple goals. One of them, since we work so closely with a variety of different government organizations, the Defense Department, HHS, Department of Energy, is ensuring that the best technology is presented to meet their requirements. I think that that is one of the most critical pieces that TSS provides. And given our spectrum of industry partners that we have access to, it provides us an opportunity to really not only put forward these beneficial technology solutions, but also challenge the industry side to see if they can do more in supporting the U.S. government. So I'd say that would be one of the primary pieces. The second is to find ways to forge alliances with some of our international partners. There's a lot of work that we've done with some of the people in South Korea, in Japan, and a variety of other locations, ensuring that there's a way to bridge that gap and give them the opportunity to work with some of our U.S. Partners and allies, like I said, to present those solutions back to the U.S. government is one of the other critical pieces that we have. The final piece is making sure that both sides have an opportunity to communicate. So it seems like it would make sense that, hey, you know what, I have big organization, I can talk to big government and the such. The reality of it is that the government speaks in alphabet soup. There's so many acronyms, and they're different from each service and different from the Pentagon side. And the uniqueness of that in concert with the funding cycles provides a challenge to industry. So industry, they may be willing to go and provide sets of solutions, but it is our expertise to be able to not only find the technical capability, speak the lingo of the government, and ensure that there's a match that benefits both sides. So I'd say that that's one of the major objectives at TSS.
Basically, your network overall definitely helps just you as a person and your entire company. Do you want to speak a little more on just like your overall network, industry, and government side? Yeah,
I will say one thing. It does, I mentioned this earlier, and I used this analogy, it takes a village. One of the benefits at TSS is that we've amassed a very good team of about 65 consultants that have a spectrum of expertise, everything from our warfighters to our former senior Pentagon officials to NASA senior scientists there's just a spectrum of capabilities. So it allows us to see a bigger picture of the opportunity space. Just understanding how different offices work has within the government side has allowed us to navigate on the industry side what would make sense and what would not. An example of this is some of the work that we're doing with ARPA-H, understanding some of the targeted initiatives that they have has allowed us to really work directly with specific industry partners that can fulfill those requirements, knowing how their funding cycles work, how their pre-proposals, their full proposals, all of these different types of pieces has made it that it is not necessarily a fact-finding type of engagement, but rather something that is not only strategic, but streamlined. And I think that is a huge benefit here. We're able to cut the line with a lot of the conversations that we have. We're not, stuck with the challenge that many industry partners have is going to conferences, symposiums, workshops, hoping to meet the right person that will give them some kind of direction as it relates to how do I work with this government office? Having amassed those relationships allows us to, understand what the need space is and then work directly with industry. So we're not stuck trying to figure it out as we go.
That makes sense. I mean, figuring out as you go, the government works very, very slow is kind of what I think everyone's gathered.
And with the funding cycles being so condensed, having things like continuing resolution and the such, that really leaves industry with a few months to understand problem sets, propose stuff, and then get on contract. There's really no time to waste. So this is where we come in, and we work with those funding cycles to allow industry to be front and center, ready to support new mission requirements in those small funding windows.
Do you have any examples of this that you've done recently? Just like, because I know the FY26 budget just came out. So any proposals or any examples you want to give?
Yeah, so the proposed FY26 budget's about to come out. We're working right now with the FY25 set of items. What I would say, I'll use the ARPA-H example again as being one of those. As we've seen a change of administrations, we've been able to work with the director of the office and a variety of the other program managers to ensure that what their objectives are directly aligned with what is being put forward by industry. And so we've seen everything from large funding opportunities to condensed funding opportunities, and directly working with academic institutions in concert with our industry partners to put something forward that doesn't just have a generalized proposed solution, but something that's tangible that can actually impact the future of HHS. Has been a set of things that we've been extremely helpful on. The other one that I'd say is we've been able to leverage programs of record and the lessons learned associated with this. A prime example of this would be the High Performance Space Computer program. A great program being led with NASA and JPL in concert with some of their industry partners like Microchip and Sci-Fi, using that as a way to springboard into a proposed next generation HPSC program, understanding that funding profiles are extremely condensed, but capabilities can be leveraged from the existing program would be another example of this that we've done. So it covers quite a wide range, but it's having an understanding of what the utility is, what the funding profiles look like, and really what the industry partners can actually perform. I'd say that puts us aside from many of the other folks that kind of play in this space.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have an array of connections and just different opportunities within the company. Is there any last takeaways you want to mention before? Anything about yourself, anything about TSS, your past at Raytheon DMEA, just anything you want to throw out there for the crowd?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how many of the different unique challenges that are coming up, even with this administration and how things are changing, has given a real opportunity for TSS to separate themselves in, showing that we have world-class capabilities that differentiate us from some of the others that unfortunately haven't really had the same amount of, traction in moving over from the Biden administration here to the Trump administration. I think it's exciting to have such a fast-paced set of opportunities. Technology moves at lightning speed. Industry, it lives and dies by its quarterly earnings. So understanding those kinds of, fast-paced set of requirements and finding pathways to work with the government has been extremely exciting. I'd say that the final takeaway that I would have is that every single day presents another set of opportunities, and I'm really thankful to just have the network that TSS leverages on a regular basis, both with the existing team that we have, which is just second to none, a great set of people, but also the new people that we get to meet as we explore just a variety of new opportunities is extremely exciting. So I'm interested to see what the next time looks like when we have a conversation, and what new challenges have came in and how we've overcome those. But I'd say that that's kind of the final takeaway.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Really excited to see you guys grow as a company. And thank you for being on here, just sharing a little about yourself and your great company that's clearly taking off at 65 consultants and probably growing to 100 real soon, huh?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I fingers crossed that we keep moving forward, and most importantly, that we continue making a difference. And if we can do that, then I'm extremely excited. So, Victoria, really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate everything else.